Hustlers, on today's episode of Trump the Hustle podcast, we have an individual who started this business 20 plus years ago. Started out as a comedian, went into stock and day trading, option trading, and said, hey, let me take option trading and apply it to real estate, and now is known as the king of lease option. Today's episode, John Jackson. Welcome to the Trump the Hustle podcast, where real estate investors, entrepreneurs share their stories, strategies, and mindset behind their hustle. I'm Michael Yanis, aka Mr. Hustle. To my right, Skylar Moon.
Let's go.
And today's special guest, the Lease Option King, John Jackson.
What up, man? Good to be here, Michael and Skylar.
Nice to meet
Good
you.
to be here. Yeah.
Well, the crazy part is you just moved to San Antonio.
Yeah. So I've lived in Fort Worth all my life. Started my business there. Lived there all my life, and moved about 3-4 weeks ago. Literally packed up my stuff and came to San Antonio, and planted my flag here. Now getting the business going here, man.
And
yeah. So I'm literally starting a series called Starting from Scratch.
Starting from scratch. Well, being here from San Antonio, and I saw your post, and you posted, hey, I moved to San Antonio. I saw the comments. I was like, man, I got to get John on this Trump the Hustle podcast, see what he's been up to, talk about what you got going on, talk about why you moved, if you're open to it.
Yeah.
And then talk about lease options, because a lot of the hustlers watching this podcast do three things: wholesale, sub two, and flips, because that's what I focus on. So real quick, before we get into who is John Jackson, what is your hustle?
My hustle is lease options on single-family homes, particularly lease option assignments. And we do some seller finance as well. But what I'm known for is lease options and lease option assignments.
And for those people who've never heard of a lease option, because we're in Texas.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen a lot of stuff when it comes to lease options, especially like sandwich lease options.
Yeah.
It's illegal, contract for deed. I'm not sure what's really going on. In a quick 20-second nutshell, what exactly is a lease option?
So a lease option is where, I'll tell you what we do. The lease option assignment is where we package up a lease option with the seller, the terms. We're not negotiating. We've got no skin in the game. We're a marketing company. We're packaging up a lease option. Then we market that to the end buyer that wants a little bit of time to get financed. They see the house, they love it. They pay us our assignment fee, which is our option fee. The seller gets monthly payments, monthly cash flow. They don't pay a commission. The buyer gets a house that they need. They couldn't have gone to a bank to get. With our program, within 12 months, they own the house. But the lease option is literally a lease with the option of purchase. So to bring it to kind of layman's terms, it's so easy. If you've ever heard of leasing a car, a Cadillac, BMW, or Mercedes,
Right.
that's actually a lease option because you're leasing it, but you have the option to buy it, right?
Makes sense.
Okay, there you go. That's a lease option. We do the same thing, except it's with a house.
I definitely want to go more into this lease option, because that's going to explore the mind of a lot of these hustlers watching, because, again, these hustlers typically is wholesale flips up too. So lease options is another tool. But before we go into lease options, let's break it back, man. Let's rewind it, because I know you're like 21 years old. Let's rewind it, man. Who is John Jackson before the Lease Option King?
Well, before the Lease Option King, I was day trading. Before that, I was working for Tandy Corporation, Radio Shack. Before that, I was doing stand-up comedy. And then somewhere in there, I was also a male stripper.
Before or after the comedy?
During.
Yeah. So what's this deal with the comedy situation? Because I this is a true story, and I don't know if you remember this or not. We went to a restaurant one time. I think it was here in San Antonio. It could have been in Houston. I don't know where we're at. We went to some restaurant.
I told someone this story.
See, we went to Houston, and I think we went to some fancy steakhouse, and we walked in, and I think Frank was even there, to be honest with you. We walked in, and he had like a table that was all fond of John Jackson, and I'm like, besides lease option, because I'm the real estate guy, I was like, lease option's not that fun. Why is this guy getting all the attention? But come to find out, it was some type of comedian, right? So what's the comedian life like? How did that transition to real estate?
The what?
Comedian life.
Oh, comedian. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to talk about how I had the wait staff come up and go, oh, my
that
God.
too. Yeah, that too. Yeah, that
I was
too.
telling the story where we were all at that table, and then this waitress came up, and with all these wait staff going, are you John Jackson? I was like, yes. I had her freak out. I had set the whole thing up, just to jack with people. But, okay, back to the question. What was the
comedian?
question?
Yeah, so how did John Jackson, the comedian, why comedian? What transitioned to real estate? So I want to know the prior John Jackson.
Yeah, so when I was, this has nothing to do with real estate, but when I was in 6th grade, my main goal was to be on Saturday Night Live in 6th grade. And a very popular show back then was Carol Burnett, which you're probably too young to remember. One of the best comedy shows. It was a variety show. So I'd watch Carol Burnett, and there's a comedian on there, Tim Conway, Harvey Korman. Anyway, I'd go to school the next day, and I'd be performing these skits, and they'd send me to the office. I'm like, this is comedy gold. What are you doing? So I got in trouble for it. But fast forward, somewhere around 20, I don't remember how old I was, 22, 21, I don't remember. Started doing stand-up. I did it off and on for about 10 years. But, I mean, you can't make a living at that, unless you're a headliner, a big headliner. But I really enjoyed it, being on the stage. I'd go up on stage with a set list, and as soon as somebody said something, F the set list, I'm jacking with you. And so my whole thing was jacking with people. But then I would, back in the day, faxes. I'd fax in jokes to Jay Leno and Bill Maher, and they'd pay you like $50 for a joke that they use and all that. But,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and then, as the old days. But and then wife got pregnant. I said, "Who's the father?" And I mean, you know how that goes, Michael. You've been there, done that. So anyway, so at some point, as my little girl was getting older, I kind of backed out of the comedy scene, and was working for Tandy Corporation, Radio Shack, fixing camcorders, because that's what I knew. And anyway, wanted to get in real estate. Oh, no, back up. I've got it backwards here. My wife said she's pregnant. I was working for Tandy Corporation doing comedy on the side. She said she was pregnant. I said, oh, wow, I'm going to quit my job, because that seems responsible. The wife is pregnant, so quit your job. Because I wanted to stay at home with my daughter. Or, I didn't know it was a daughter at the time. So, became a stay-at-home dad, taught myself how to day trade stocks and options. Well, through this, I wanted to get into real estate, but nothing really stood out to me. And back in 2002, 1, 2, 3, there wasn't, the internet was brand new, so there wasn't a whole lot to learn. I mean, there wasn't information out there. Anyway, what I did see out there was I would see little blurbs about lease options. Like, wait, I know what that is. I know what an option is. That's how I make my money. Mm-hmm. And that's where I went down that rabbit hole. And the way lease options were being used at the time, or touted at the time, was how to get an option fee, non-refundable option fee from someone who will never be able to buy the house. And in 5-6 months, when they can't make the payments, you kick them out, and you do it all over again. I thought, well, that's ripping people off. Mm-hmm. So I took the structure of a lease option. I said, okay, how do I make this right? How do I structure this so actually it helps everybody? And that's where Leasing to Buy was born in 2003.
So comedian, father,
day trader.
Stock, day trading with option. Now, real quick, and I know, Skylar, you're a stock type of guy with day trading. This is real foreign stuff to me. As the stock side or day trading, whatever you call it, what exactly is the option when you talk about stocks?
It's an option to purchase a contract at a certain price at a future date.
For stocks.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So kind of took that mindset and said, hey.
So I took that and put it into real estate.
Going back to comedian days, and I didn't know that whole fax thing with that, Jalen. I'm still thinking about it. Yeah. For the guys who don't know, what's a fax?
Yeah.
Send a fax to Jalen and you get paid $50.
Right after they had the smoke signals, they came up with
yeah.
Carrier pigeons.
Carrier pigeons. That's cool, man. I didn't know that. That's really cool. And the comedian, always been a funny guy, right? Ever since I met you.
I just, it came from my mom. To me, she was my Carol Burnett, and I was the Tim Conway, because she was so quick.
On her feet.
And so I just kind of fell into suit. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you. So was it supernatural for you? Did you just work at it a lot as a kid, or did it come pretty natural?
It was totally, just like, me walking into this building and jacking around, I'm not thinking about it. It just happens. Yeah. I don't think about it.
I definitely think it's something we see it a lot of times. We've talked about this conversation before. You can have brother and sister, two brothers in the same family, and one is very entrepreneur-minded and one is just not. And one's a 9-to-5 guy, right? And so I just didn't know if it was the same thing with comedians. If, do most of them train to be comedians, or you kind of have to have the it, though. If you're going to be like big league, I think you have to have that factor.
Some do, and as we were talking about public speaking earlier, and Sean McCloskey, and he recommends if someone wants to be a public speaker to go take improv classes.
I remember.
I never have, but I understand why. Because as someone who did I never was an improv troupe, but a lot of my comedy was improv. Like, it was just, I didn't know what was going to happen. But as someone that does comedy like that, you're thinking literally 5 steps ahead of whoever you're talking to. Like, if I was jacking with Skylar, if I ask him something or say something, it's a if or. In my head, it's if or. I know if he's going to reply this way or this way, and I've already got 5 lines lined up for wherever he's going, so I'm already way ahead of him.
Like chess.
Yeah.
Like chess.
Comedy chess. Yeah.
There it is. Okay, so you're a comedian. You do the stock trading stuff, and then how do you take that into your first real estate deal? Let's go back to 03 on John's first real estate deal 20 plus years ago, especially when it comes to lease option.
Yeah, so I knew. So I bought a $97 manual from a guy, Michael Carbonari in Florida. At the time, he had a forum, web forum called Naked Investor. And the reason I call it Naked Investor is after the Naked Chef, where, hey, with these basic ingredients, you can do something great. So he based the idea around Naked Investor of with these basic things, you can do something great. I know y'all think it sounds like a porn site, but no, I haven't been on one of those in like over 10 days. But so for $97, got this manual, and it literally taught me the very basics of lease options, just enough to be dangerous. So I went and paid $65 for a yard sign, ugliest damn yard sign you've ever seen. I still have it. Didn't have a logo or anything, but nobody cares about a logo. But because I knew when I got that house, I wanted to be ready. And so there was no rule book on how to market back then. We didn't have anything that we have now. So what I would do is I would go to, at the time, buyowner.com was pretty popular.
Buyowner.com.
Yeah, it was a FSBO site. Which was popular back then. They ran ads and everything. So I would go to their website and I would print off pages of these ads, right? And then in the evening, I'd go into Tandy Corporation, a Radio Shack, where I was still working a little bit of part-time because they gave me a key to the building. And I'd go in there and use their phone to call these sellers, I had no clue what to say, but I'm doing it, I'm the one in the building with, Radio Shack phone, that's pretty funny. So I'd call these people, one after the other. And back then, families ate together. I mean, that's old school.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people said, we just sat down to eat, and they would cuss me out for, because they were sitting down to eat like the Waltons or something, because that's how families were back then. But every now and then, here's the thing. What's the scariest thing a seller can say?
No, I don't want to sell.
The scariest thing a seller can say is yes.
The opposite. Oh.
Because now you're like, oh, shit. Now what do I do?
You got to be ready. That's right.
Right? So there was a couple of times I had way back then that sellers go, well, that might work. And maybe so. How does that work? I'm like, I don't know. Click. But yeah, the scariest thing a seller can say is yes for a newbie, because they're like, oh, shit, now I got to perform. I actually got to do something, But I did that for a couple of weeks, didn't get a deal. Again, I didn't know what I was doing. It didn't matter. I was getting in the game. I was trying to do something, which I look back now, and it's pretty funny. I was using Radio Shack's telephone, because back then we still had long distance. So if you called 214, blah, blah, whatever, you're paying money for a long distance call. So thank you, Radio Shack, for starting my business.
They went out of business.
Yeah, and they went bankrupt because of my long distance phone calls. But something we had back then I wasn't thinking about was, even though we still had long distance, back then we had caller ID. So I never thought about that. Think about these homeowners going Radio Shack, thinking I'm going to sell them batteries or a remote control car. And I'm like, I was calling about your house.
I can see the confusion during dinner time.
Yeah. But so how did I get my first house? I was driving around, didn't know there was a term for it, driving for dollars. I was just driving around in my whatever truck I drove and listened to the Scorpions or Tesla or whatever, fire! And saw a house that said for sale by owner. And it was vacant. So I called and said, hey, would you be open to a lease option? And he goes, yeah. I was like, oh, shit. So I go home, get my sign, put it in their yard, and God knows what contracts I had in 2003, probably so ugly. But within 3 weeks, I had a buyer, $3,500. This was with no website or anything, just a sign in the yard. That first deal was so easy. I still to this day remember laying in bed feeling guilty, like, God, have I done something wrong? You'd think I'd be going, yeah, I'm a rock star. No, I was like, oh my God, I think I've done something wrong. Because it was so easy. In 2003, $3,500, I mean, that's a chunk of money. It'd probably take people 3, maybe 4 weeks to make. And I just made it like that by sticking a sign in the yard. But so did that one. It was in North Richland Hills, Texas. Then, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, did my next house, found it driving for dollars. It was a few, 4 streets over. It was a HomeVestor house, HomeVestor franchisee. So I called him up, same thing. I'm over at Greenview, whatever. Would you want to be open to lease option this house? And it was Craig Calhoun answered the phone. He said, yeah, we'd be open to that. That's actually how he talks. Good guy. So did that one. Well, then that franchisee sent me another house. Hey, what about this house? And next thing you know, they're sending me emails or spreadsheets of these fix and flips they've got. And then they're telling other franchisees about me. And so now I'm doing these houses for HomeVestors and other investors. But but I needed more inventory. I want to do more and more and more.
Even though you had that big list from all those investors?
Yeah, because by this time, this is my full-time gig. So from the time I started to the time I quit that little side gig with Radio Shack was probably 3 months. So I was
real quick, John, let's go back to that first house. You said it was so easy, and you said something like you felt guilty.
Yeah.
If you're closing deals and you close a solid deal and you make a decent amount of money, you would feel that. I feel that sometimes too. Like, man, did we do something wrong here, ethically, morally? Can we do something better? So that's pretty cool that you said that back in 03-ish.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that first one. So you're driving for dollars, FSBO, for sell by owner, and you say, hey, I want to do a lease option. But let's break down exactly the lease option. What do you tell the seller? I'm going to find a tenant for you? How does that work?
Well, so my sales pitch, it's not a sales pitch, but a conversation. So God knows what I said back then because, but now, and I hope this addresses your question because I don't remember what I said back then. But now, my conversation with sellers is the easiest conversations you'll ever hear in real estate, bar none. Easiest.
What you got?
So I do direct mail, which we can talk about. I do direct mail. The sellers call me and they go, hey, I got your thing in the mail. Want to find out what you do? And I go, yeah, you bet. What's your name? And I write down their name and their phone number. If I'm in front of the computer, I pull up. I said, well, yeah, so I guess you're trying to sell your house? Yeah, sure am. What's the address? Give me the address. And I'm pulling up the computer. How long have you been trying to sell it? Whatever. About 45 days, 6 days, whatever. And I pull it up. Oh, beautiful home. At this point, I don't give two craps about the house. The house isn't the thing. Their problem is the thing. Right? So I've got to be a real estate doctor. Where does it hurt? What are the symptoms? So that has nothing to do with the house, right? In my case. So I ask him, what's a beautiful house? It looks vacant according to these pictures. Did you already move? Yeah, where'd you move to? Right? And I'm just having a conversation about them and their story. What we do subconsciously in a conversation with someone we don't know, like let's say you're at a networking event and you're a little high top and you're drinking your Perrier or whatever, and someone walks up, you're having a conversation with them, you don't get nervous. You're just having, you're having a conversation. Oh, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. What you're subconsciously also what you're doing is your brain's looking for commonality. They're looking for commonality. What I mean by that is if I'm talking to a seller and I ask for his email address and he gives it to me in aviation phonetics. I go, oh wow, what equipment did you fly? And it stops and go, are you a pilot? I go, well, I used to be, blah, blah, blah. And boom, broke down the wall. Now guess what? Commonality, right? And we do that subconsciously in any conversation, But again, I'm just talking to the seller, finding out, what's going on with the house. You moved, you didn't move. Where are you moving to? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I'm just having a conversation with them, building that, rapport and that trust, but looking for commonality as well. But also finding out what's that pain point, So get through all that. Actually, the last thing, what we do, the lease options, that's actually the last thing I talk about in the conversation. That's the very last thing I talk about.
With the seller?
Yeah. If you had a conversation with me and a seller, let's assume it was a 5-minute conversation, the last 60 seconds is where I even talk about what we do. And so, but when we get to that point, I said, let me tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do. So we're the plan B for investors and sellers and agents. When they're having problems selling a house, it's been on the market too long, they come to us because we have other methods of marketing to a pool of buyers that MLS is not hitting. And we do this with a couple of different programs that we have. What we're known for is the lease option. We also do some seller finance, depending on the situation. But with the lease option, you get full price, no commission. You get cash flow each month, and our buyers cash you out within 12 months. Now, what I can do is just, let me just get your email address. And what I can do is I can send you 2 emails. The first one's about who we are, what do we do, how does it work. The second is going to have some preliminary numbers with an attachment to it. So I'll get those out to you here in a couple hours. Take a look at that, and we can follow up tomorrow. That's the conversation. I tell people I'm the plan B. I'm basically the guy you come to after you've been screwed.
Plan B.
Is this like, we're editing this, right?
let's. I want to say something real quick. You mentioned you're a real estate doctor. Mm-hmm. And as a real estate doctor, the goal is to find their pain point, address their pain point, talk to them like a patient would. Now, you've been around for a long time. I've been doing it for like 13 years. And it's funny because in the Hustle Academy, we talked about this very thing here. Talking to sellers is the hardest part for most people. Beginner investors do what they got to do. I've never heard no one phrase it the way you phrase it. Real estate doctor. Find out the issue. Figure it out.
And because here's the thing is, so many times, here's the thing. Let's dive into that. If you go to the doctor, Michael, okay, and you're sitting on the little table with the little deli paper, which I don't know why they put deli paper on there.
Butcher paper, whatever that is.
I always must have bologna. I don't know. But anyway, the doctor walks in the door. Imagine this. You're sitting on the little table. The doctor walks in, says, "Hello, Michael. Good to see you. All right, here's a prescription. Take care. I'll see you next couple months." They're like, "What the hell was this?" He didn't even ask you where it hurts. He didn't ask you anything. He just gave you a prescription without knowing where it hurt. Most people, especially starting off in real estate, they go at it as if, I know how to wholesale, as an example. And they go, "Hey, Mr. Seller," boom, and they try to shove the wholesale offer down their throat. They don't even know what the problem is. They haven't even asked, where does it hurt, right? And so as a real estate doctor, you've got to build that conversation, know what's going on. What's going on with the house? What's going on with you? Did you move? Or to move? Or whatever that may be. I don't wholesale, but like in y'all's case, maybe, did you inherit this? Oh, who passed away? Oh my gosh. Well, and then you start talking about whoever passed away. Oh my gosh, was that your grandmother? Oh my gosh, did you have a good relationship? Whatever. F the house. You're building a rapport. You're finding out where does it hurt, right? And then when appropriate, you say, "Well, here's what we do, and here's what we But you've got to be that real estate doctor.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. Like you said, the toughest part about a seller saying yes, especially a newbie wholesaler or a newbie flipper, right? Calling that seller for the first time, they're used to saying no's. And when they finally get that first yes, okay, let me run numbers, I'll call you back. So it's tough. Yeah, I get it. So we definitely talk a lot about it in the Hustle Academy. We share our conversation framework, which is kind of very in line with yours. It's motivation, why they want to sell, what's the issue, how's the problem, how can we fix it? The second one is condition. All right, now tell me about the house. Right? Now tell me about the ins and outs of it. Does it need work? Third is the timeline, how fast. And then fourth is the price. Same thing with your thought process. It's cool to see how you in a whole different world when it comes to lease options, very similar to what it comes to with us as a wholesaler. Because our guys next door, they're cold calling all day, man. We're really getting them down to a craft on speaking to sellers because the money is in the buy. That's where you start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So going back to lease options, I'm a seller. Mm-hmm. I'm putting the house on the market and it's not moving and I'm trying to get $200,000. Walk me through the lease option phase just to make sure I fully understand. Nobody's showing it. I have no offers and I really just want out. I have a mortgage on it. Let's go through that process. Let's come up with a fake scenario.
Okay.
John calls me.
Okay, no. First of all, I don't cold call. So we've got 2 methodologies, and I want to get to your point.
Yeah.
But on the marketing side, I use 2 different methods.
Okay.
I use one. 2. One is just word of mouth. People know who I am. 2 is direct mail to MLS over 30.
Direct mail to MLS over 30.
I send direct mail to the sellers, not the agents, to the sellers.
For some people that may say, what about the agents?
I don't know. I don't talk to them.
You're not a realtor?
I'm not an agent.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I get that's what I'm asking it.
I know.
I'm telling you, there'll probably be some of the comments.
People are still
Yeah, people are probably in the comments like,
how
this
do
guy's
you do
going
that?
bypass us, which I get as an investor.
Yeah,
I'm a little gray area because I'm a broker. So it's hard for me to do this.
So if someone's an agent,
he can do it.
Yeah, I tell people say, "Should I get my license?" Like, well, you can, but I tell people the only thing you can't do that I do if you were an agent is my marketing, which is direct mail to MLS. Because then the sellers call me, I explain the program. They say, "Well, what about my agent?" Well, you want to let your agent know that you're looking to offer a lease option, but keep that listing. I tell them keep that listing if at all possible. Well, okay, well, What if you lease option first? How do they get paid? Well, that's a conversation for your agent to have, whatever you all work out between you.
Let's go back to it. So houses for sale, 3 months go down. I had one show in the last 30 days. And then I get a letter in the mail. My name is John Jackson. And it says something along the lines of, what does that letter say?
It's a little, we've got a couple pieces, but our main piece is our Street View postcard. It's got a picture of the house, of your house, and just bullet points. Bap, 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 bap. How long can you wait for your house in the market? With the lease option, you get full price, no commission. Just some bullet points.
So as a seller, you're telling me I'm gonna get $200,000, no commissions, so I don't have to pay realtor 6%, seller concessions, all that good stuff. And then they call the office, and then what's the next piece?
Then you call me. Hey, I got your thing in the mail. I want to find out what you all do. That's what they say. And then there again, it goes back to what we were just talking about with that seller conversation. We go, I guess you've got a house for sale. Yeah, I do. Okay. What's the address? And if I'm in front of the computer, I'll pull it up.
Right.
And then I'm looking at the house, and at $200,000, I'm probably going to say, this is seller finance, which we can help you on because that's a lower price point. So let's go with $300K.
Okay.
Which generally doesn't matter for this conversation. But then I found out about, again, I'm being the doctor. What's going on? Do you still live in the house, or you moved? What's going on? Finding out what is going on in your life.
In this makeup scenario.
And so you've moved to
right. I moved to a second house, and this house I was trying to get it sold because I don't want 2 mortgage payments.
And now it's sitting here. And again, after I build that rapport and everything, I literally just say, go back to what I just said. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. We're considered Plan B in real estate for sellers and investors. Where they have a house they can't sell, they come to us. We help them get full price. We have a couple of different programs. What we're known for is a lease option. We get full price, no commission, cash flow each month, and our buyers cash you out within 12 months. And so what I can do is, there again, let me just get your email address. I'll send you 2 emails. So I tell people, if you can copy and paste on a computer, you can do what I do. It's literally that easy. Copy, paste, copy, paste. And then you follow up with a phone call. Did you get the emails? Any questions? The number one question, when I call a seller back, after I've sent the emails and made sure that, hey, do you have any questions about the numbers? The number one question they have is, how fast can you find somebody? That's what they want to know.
That's what I want to hear. I want to hear the pitch. So
because sellers think if the house isn't going to sell, they think Plan B is rented out.
Right.
I'm like, no. When you have someone living in your house that's put money down, that's talking to our loan officers in the process of buying it, rather than the guy with all his belongings in an F-150 saying he'll rent it from you. I mean, come on.
So John calls and says, yeah, I'm done with this. That's the part I'm probably missing.
Okay.
So what are you getting to rent my house out? How does this work, John?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so let's go into that part of it. So these sellers, when I talk to them, they understand that I'm not taking over their house payments. Even the emails I send, the way it's worded, they know that we're a marketing company. We're not taking over your payments. I'm not leasing the house from you. I'm a marketing company. But this is what we market. Because I tell them, keep it on the MLS while we're marketing it. So there's nowhere in those conversations they think that I'm going to be leasing the house. I'm going to be taking over payments. They know that I'm a marketing company. Just like if they call a real estate agent and the agent says, yeah, I'll put it on the MLS, they don't think the agent's buying it.
Right.
It's marketing. And so they understand that we're a marketing company.
So you guys market it. You guys find a buyer who can't buy now because of?
Normally, either they're self-employed, it may be a little bit of credit, but we've got credit improvement in place for the buyers. We've got the loan officer in place, so we literally have the machine in place to help those buyers. We can't help everybody,
right? Yeah.
But if they
has a line,
if they pass my qualifications, then we got everything in place.
So if I'm doing a lease option for the first time, I'm leasing to John's company, or I'm leasing to Mark Smith, the buyer.
Well, the contracts will show Sam, the seller, as the landlord, the optionor. Leasing to buy is the tenant and the optionee. And then we've got the assignment of contract, and then we assign that once we find the buyer. So that's why, like Joe McCall, who I trained, he calls it wholesaling lease options. Yeah, because we're flipping the contract. It's not a discount price. It's just flipping the contract. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And where do you guys make what's y'all's fee?
The option fee. So when that buyer puts their money down,
how much they normally put down?
About 5%.
Okay.
When they put that money down, it goes into our account. They pay us.
Okay.
Now, out of that, we'll pay the seller a little bit of our fee. So as an example, $18,000 down, may give the seller say $2,000, right? Because there's no deposit with the lease option, but that's our money. But when they go to get financed, it'll reflect as they've already paid their down payment.
To who?
To us.
What does a loan officer say? How does a
Well, good question. So we've got a loan officer that she's got this dialed in and has for many years. It's really about the loan officer and the underwriter. So when I've helped people and they say we've got the financing in place, and they say, "Oh, my brother-in-law is a loan officer. He's going to take care of the loan." I'm like, "Oh, here we go." Mm-hmm. And then I get a call 8-9 months later. "Hey, this is so and so's brother-in-law helping him with helping him on his loan here. Just trying to figure out where the if you're going to send the down payment or the option consideration to title." I'm like, "No, let me train you. No, I got to educate the loan officer." But what happens is, even our documents state they're putting this amount down as option fee, and it shall be considered towards funds to close at the time of finance. It's not going to title. That's our money, but it'll show up on the HUD as earnest money paid to seller. Yeah.
So that'll be a discount that the seller takes on the home.
It's not. It's their down payment.
Right.
So because we get 5% down in most cases, almost all of our buyers go FHA. FHA requires 3.5. So guess what? They're good on the down. They've already paid it.
What's the closing cost?
The
1.5.
Yeah, the seller pays over their closing cost. It's a seller concession.
So Mike, the seller, a few months, called John, say, "Yeah, John, this is exactly what I need. I just want to stop the bleeding." You find a tenant. We come into some type of lease. You assign the lease option to buy to Bob, the buyer. Bob then puts around 5% down to you, and that's your assignment fee, if you will. And the next 12 months is Bob's role to fix his credit, do what he's got to do, fix his taxes, whatever that case may be, and why he couldn't buy it to begin with. In the meantime, Sam, the seller, is getting cash flow from the rental. Mm-hmm. So I stopped the bleeding on my second mortgage. Bob, the buyer, fixes his credit. We close. Everyone's happy.
Yep.
I cut my realtor out.
Yep.
Hustlers, real estate investing doesn't have to be overwhelming, and you don't have to do it alone. If you've been watching from the sidelines, scrolling past deals on Zillow, or binging YouTube videos, but still not taking action, this is for you. That's why we built Hustle Academy, a community designed for new and experienced real estate investors who want to learn, network, and grow. Inside Hustle Academy, you'll get weekly live calls, Q&A sessions, and step-by-step classes on fix and flip, wholesaling, creative finance, and my favorite, subject to deals. Everything you need to know to build real skills and start closing real deals. You'll join a powerful group of like-minded hustlers who are sharing wins, breaking down deals, and all pushing toward the same goal, financial freedom through real estate. If you're ready to level up, no matter what stage you're starting at, join Hustle Academy today. Tap the link in the description or visit hustleacademy.com and let's trump the hustle together. And there you have it, guys. Lease options.
There you go, baby. There you go.
Okay, so with that being way back then, how'd you come out to be the Lease Option King? How'd you scale? I mean, you calling back, continue your story, Homevestors. So Homevestors, that's the We Buy Ugly Houses guys.
Yeah,
right?
and so this is 03. By then it was 04. And this is where I started marketing the MLS because I'm like, I need more inventory. I need a lot more inventory. And I was like, how do I find people that want to sell their house? I kept asking myself that, and finally I was like, oh, I know how to find people that want to sell their house. Just look for people that are trying to sell their house already. I was like, MLS. Now, this is back in the day before any software we have now. So I had to do all this manually. And I'm telling you, man, when I look back at what we had in 2003, 2004, the people trying to get started now in real estate, they would have spent about 3 hours and gone, F this. Yeah. But, man, back then it was like, I had no choice, burn the bridges or burn the ships, So I had to go to, back then, I think Realtor.com had just come out. So I'd go to Realtor.com, print off all these listings. Then I had to go manually go to the tax records, cross-reference every one of these houses, print that off, and take this letter, some letter I'd made, and then I was handwriting these envelopes, stamping them. I mean, you talk about time-consuming. And now I can do a mailing in, less than 5 minutes, But so I started marketing the MLS, and that's when it blew up. I mean, literally blew up. It was just, oh, crap. I've struck gold here. And just kept repeating that. And direct mail to MLS was what blew us up. And then in 04, then somewhere in it was fast, so like 04, 05, this forum I was telling you about, the Naked Investor, well, now I'm helping people in there because they're seeing what I'm doing. Now I've become an expert in there, even though I've been doing it for a year or two. I knew more than they did, and I said, well, here's what I did. So then by 05, end of I don't know, July or so of August. July, August 05. Or had to be before that. June, July of 05. Texas had a preliminary bill presented on the floor regarding lease options. And it actually wasn't about lease options, more about contract for deed. But it had the verbiage it had in there about lease options was a lease option is an executory contract, and you cannot have an executory contract on a property with a lien, meaning a mortgage. That would have killed everything. A bunch of us investors went to work faxing, calling. I don't know if I had email, but just blowing up, these representatives to the point where they said stop. Anyway, the initial bill that was proposed for lease options was dramatically changed. It was passed, signed by Rick Perry, September of 05. So then by 06, somewhere in there, I forgot when I started training people. But anyway, somewhere around 06 or 07, I don't remember. My friend Joe McCall said, you got to come out with a course. You got to come out with a course about lease options. No, I'm not going to be a guru. I'm not going to be a guru. And he said, you have to, because you're the only one with this knowledge. So I put together, this CD of this Texas lease option course. And I found I found one the other day in my garage and posted it on Facebook. But it had everything in it, contracts, my manual, everything in it. And I was burning it at home. I was burning CDs at home, and I started to speak at RIA groups, like down in Houston at the Rich Club, which is no longer around, but whatever. Speaking of these groups, and attorneys would show up to buy my CD.
That's cool.
Yeah. And somewhere there, Joe McCall coined the phrase, or the name, King of Lease Options. He said, "You are the King of Lease Options," and it just stuck with me, And then I think I trained him in 09 or something, but he's the one that coined that, the King of Lease Options.
That's cool. It's stuck with you ever since. That's day one. I met you years ago.
Yeah.
The lease option guy. That's who we think about when it comes to lease options. What about all those people that talk about, hey man, lease option it's illegal, or break down what exactly is a sandwich lease option? So
you cannot do a sandwich lease option in Texas, and I'll explain that in a second. Before I do, you got to understand a little bit of the property code, which I won't go into the whole background story of the tornado that hit Fort Worth and the whole contract for deed crap. I was going to pick it up in 05. So by 05, there was regulations about contract for deed. The regulations were so tough on the seller that people stopped doing them. But they were doing lease options. A couple of knuckleheads down the valley were taking advantage of people using lease options. So ACORN, the Texas Low-Income Housing Authority, got together, lobbied to have legislation passed about lease options. Well, the original bill was a complete mess. We all joined the bandwagon. They changed it. Okay, here's the final bill. And I read it, and I was like, oh, well, I can live with this. But there's a number of problems that cause confusion about lease options in Texas and what you can and can't do. Part of it is just the telephone game, where, what the telephone game is, telephone game is where, like the kindergarten teacher sits her class in a circle, and she whispers in, Sally's ear, something like, I'm wearing red shoes. And they're supposed to whisper it all the way around, and a little Johnny Rotten crotch at the end. She goes, okay, Johnny, what'd I say? Well, now it's been messed up so much he looks up and goes, your mother never loved you? I'm like, what? That's not what I said. So it's a telephone game. A lot of misinformation online and all these forums and whatever, Facebook. But part of the problem is that Title II, Chapter 5 is about contract for deed. It's about conveyances. Now you got these requirements for lease option, okay? Well, they embedded them within the same part of the code that has to do with contract for deed. So now people think that all of this is that lease options apply to everything in Title II, Chapter 5, and that's not true. So you have to take and literally go through the law and say, okay, what applies to lease option? What's contract for deed? And that's what I had to do after Rick Perry signed the law. And in my training, I include my notes, my little notes from 05. You can see where I was writing. DNA does not apply. Applies. Okay, what do we do? You can see my notes. And of course, and then so I had a number of attorneys. I paid about $30,000 for my contracts over the course of time. One of the attorneys that worked on them was Charles Newman, who actually wrote the majority of Title II, Chapter 5. Brilliant real estate attorney. So let's go back. So part of the rules of a lease option in Texas, you have to have fee simple title. Now,
for those who don't know what that is,
I'm about to explain that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So all you real estate attorneys out there, listen up, because I've had to explain this to a lot of real estate attorneys. Like, I couldn't even tell you how many real estate attorneys called me and go, asking what I do, blah, blah, and I said, well, how can you do a lease option if they've got a mortgage? Because the law says you got to have fee simple title. I'm like, well, Mr. Attorney, you should buy my course. Fee simple title. I've had to explain this to real estate attorneys. Fee simple title has nothing to do with the mortgage. You've got title. You've got the promissory note. Two different things. They think fee simple title is free simple, like free. No. Fee simple title is simply how we hold title in the state of Texas. It's also considered absolute title. It's considered the purest form of title. So that's all it is. So you have to have fee. The seller must have fee simple title. Okay. Well, in a sandwich lease option, you're sandwiched between the seller and the buyer. A-B transaction, B-C transaction. So you're the B. Well, in the B-C transaction, you're the seller. You don't have fee simple title. A does, right? So you can't do a sandwich lease option in Texas. If it's over 6 months, so having said that, so we do lease option assignments. If it's over 6 months, less than 3 years, it's an executory contract, but only certain sections of the law apply to lease option. You've got to, if there's a mortgage on the property, you have to disclose that information to the buyer. The buyer has to make sure that has to be able to verify the payments are being made. You have to have very specific verbiage in your documents. Okay, got that. There's some other piddly things as well. And obviously the seller has to have fee simple title.
Right.
And there's some little things about regarding the late fees and this and that, which,
Get all the information in the course.
But yeah, if it goes over 3 years, it's essentially a contract for deed.
The average option assignment fee is typically 5%?
For us, yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it goes higher, sometimes it goes lower. How does that work?
On higher price houses, on higher price houses will sometimes go up maybe even 8%. Yeah. But I also look at it from a marketing perspective. As an example, if it's a $400,000 house, I may put it like $18,000 down or whatever, just to make it a little under 5%. Yeah. But in general, it's 5%. Yeah.
So this is very interesting. I'm obviously we're business partners on a couple different businesses, and I'm on the fix and flip side. I know wholesaling, but I don't do any wholesaling. I know about rentals. I don't really hold too many rentals. Subject to, I do a little bit of that, but I mean, my main focus is fix and flip. And so hearing all this is, one, super interesting, and two, new to me. But my question at this point would be, if you're brand new getting into real estate, let's say you're, I don't know, John Smith, you're 45, you've got your career, you got a decent 9 to 5, let's say you're making $100,000, and you come across your page, right? Is he your perfect avatar? Who's your avatar? Who are you looking for to teach this to? How easy is it for somebody who maybe doesn't have much investment history? Maybe they've never done an investment. They've seen all these different gurus online about wholesale and fix and flip and this, that, and the other, and they come across you. One, is it something that's for everybody, or who's your specific avatar that you go after?
That's a good question. So I've worked with people that have tried wholesaling or this or that, and they just floundered. They couldn't get it going. I've worked with people that have never done anything in real estate. Our students that have done nothing in real estate before, when they come to us, normally within 3 weeks they have their first house. But the way we coach is way different than your typical coach. Like if you were coming to me, Skylar, and say, hey, I want to come in as a dream partner. We call them our dream partners. I want to come into your organization as a dream partner. All right, here we go. Bap, 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 bap. And you're on board within 24 hours. But we're handing you the system. Like literally, here you go.
Right.
So when someone comes to coaching for us, it's the difference of, hey, Skylar wants to have a hamburger restaurant. All right, Skylar, go find your retail restaurant, retail space, supplier, cooking equipment, blah, 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 tables, chairs, and you're dicking around over there for 2 or 3 months trying to even get, find out where you can find forks and spoons. Meanwhile, I can just give you McDonald's.
Right.
Here's the system. You're like, oh, shit, it's already done. That's the difference. So someone comes to us and we go, boom, here's the system. Here's this, bop, bop, bop. They don't need a website or this or that or that. No, we literally give it to them in 24 hours. And they're underneath the leasing by umbrella. So it's almost like a license agreement. So like you'd be Skylar at leasingtobuy.com.
Right.
So credibility, instant credibility, everything. Our marketing systems, our software, that'll do the scraping and texting for you. And we do 11 coaching calls a week. So we're fully supporting you. Yeah. So it's vastly different. So when you're asking like who's my avatar of who I would work with as a student, if you just do what I tell you to do.
What's a time commitment for a new student? If somebody said, hey, I've got a full 9 to 5, but I do have some time on the weekends or have some time in the afternoons, would that still fit? Or who?
Yeah. So I've had people say, well, I'm retired. I can do 40 hours a week. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you to do. Like, it really doesn't take 40 hours a week, Now, starting up, it takes a little more, time to put some things in place, obviously. But then it's only a matter of scheduling, when are you going to make the calls or return the calls or whatever. It really does not take that much time. Like I was telling earlier, to me, so I don't wholesale. And just the thought of having a list of whatever tax delinquent and blah, 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 putting them into a Mojo dial or whatever it is, I don't know, y'all use. And, sitting there looking like an operator all day, hey, I'm like, oh my God, kill me now.
Yeah.
That just seems grueling. I'd much rather click 2 buttons, send out 800 postcards, and have 15 sellers call me. Because I don't care if they call me when I'm at the drive-in Sonic. I got a notepad. Well, okay, what's your name? All right, I'll do some research, and I'll call you back.
It's definitely cool. Definitely working a lot smarter.
Yeah.
Is Mojo still around?
I don't know.
Is Mojo still around? Mojo Dialer?
Frankie!
It is? Oh, cool. Well, there you go. Okay, so obviously, we know you're the lease option guy. This guy can answer any question when it comes to lease options. You took a big business in Dallas and said, hey, that's where I want to do that. But then somehow, a couple of weeks ago, you ended up in San Antonio. What's that about?
FBI.
That's what I thought.
FBI. Speaking of that, they're calling right now. I did actually have the FBI call me about a month ago, but it was about a crooked investor, and they knew I could help, give them information.
Did you give them information?
Yeah. But no, so I've lived in Fort Worth, Texas all my life. Well, grew up in Lido, Texas, which was a tiny town. Anyway, the Fort Worth area all my life. So that's really where my home base has been. And that's where, I get houses there so easily, really without even doing much marketing. Anyway, was married. Then the last couple of years started getting rough. And I thought, I may need to leave. I may need to get out of here. I started looking for places. And I never really knew, isn't that awkward phase of, is it going to work? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. And then divorce. It was very amicable. But then first week of January, I guess, it took a horrible turn. I was like, my friend said, you got to get out of there. That crazy Brazilian witch, I swear she's got a voodoo doll of me because I jacked up my leg. I did. I got to San Antonio, went to the ER. They go, you have 2 blood clots. I'm like, where'd that come from? They said, do you know any Brazilians? I'm like, I'm the healthy guy. Anyway.
Was it that bad? You had to move to a different city?
It wasn't, but it was God saying, it was nothing short of a God thing saying, I've got to remove, in order for me to do with you what I want to do with you, I've got to remove you from this situation and this person because she's the anchor of your life, meaning dragging you along. So we put all my stuff in storage. I came to my friend said, go to our house in San Antonio. They've been trying to sell it for a little bit, but their son still lives there for a few more weeks. So moved down there, and then my friend said, why don't you just take over the payments and buy it from us for what we owe? And then I was like, that's amazing. Because I was laying there, I forgot San Antonio. I just remember laying there thinking, shit, I'm like basically homeless, right? Because it was her house, and I left. It's like, shit, I think I'm almost homeless. But so I'm like, oh God, that's amazing.
You You close on your buddy's house on a wrap, on a finance, on a sub two.
So I'm just gonna.
It's a lease option.
It'll be just take a sub two. I'll put it. I've got some. So there's a few different ways I can do it, but I think we're just gonna do it sub two, in a trust. Yeah, I'll have. There's a certain way I gotta structure it just because of some things I got going on.
Yeah, I got you.
So I'm a little bit out of it,
Trust, yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
but
put in the trust. That's more than enough said.
But and then Cameron is getting married in March, and he's out, and then there we go. But where I live, it's amazing. Location, so close to everything. But something I did is so now I'm, and this is phenomenal for my students, is I'm tracking starting from scratch. Because people say, well, John, you've been doing it for 23 years. It's easy for you. Oh, really? How about if I move, how about if I take 3 shirts and some shoes, move to San Antonio and start from scratch? Would that make you realize that you can do this? So I'm in San Antonio, and so I'm tracking, what am I doing to get this going?
That's pretty cool to see that journey hit that reset, because I get that same question all the time. Well, Mike, you close on these wholesale sub-twos because you've been in San Antonio forever, and all the realtors noticing you sub-two deals. It's cool to see you in your position hit that reset button. And earlier we were talking about the word discomfort, right? Uncomfortable, whatever we're talking about.
Comfort zone.
The comfort zone, right? You being in Fort Worth for practically all your life, hit that button and move to a different city, and you don't really have the culture of San Antonio. You don't know the restaurants, what happened in this year and that year. So someone to step out of that comfort zone. What was those 6 words you were saying?
Yeah, so what we're talking about is the comfort zone. So I've just been literally, God just kicked my ass out of the comfort zone, right? Because it took something that extreme to say, no, you got to do this, right? So I used to do big 3-day events, but my favorite part was a section called the Guru Mindset, where I was talking about mindset and how we think and why we think the way we do. And I have this whiteboard, and I would do this diagram, these circles of the comfort zones, and I would explain how they worked. But at the end of the day, your comfort zones are created by 6 words, 3 sayings, 6 words. Yeah, but, what if only. Yeah, but, what if only. John, go live in our house in San Antonio. Yeah, but my business is in Fort Worth. What'd that just do? Comfort zone. Well, John, move to our house in San Antonio. What if I don't know anybody down there? What if I can't get it going? Oh, I'm creating an excuse to keep that comfort zone. Keep me in this little bubble. Oh, if only I had my business going in San Antonio. Comfort zone. So those 6 words keep us within a space that if we want to grow, we've got to be able to know that when we start to hear those words subconsciously, well, nope, not today. Not today, Satan. But yeah, but what if only? And again, if we had a big whiteboard in here, I could literally show you how someone trying to get started in real estate, I could show you those rings of the comfort zone and how they cycle through, which is why, and when I show that on a whiteboard in my event, I show the different levels, where they started and they loop back around. This is why every student that a guru has is the same student the other guru has. Meaning, the people that come to me have already bought everybody else's courses.
They're bouncing around.
People that go to them have bought my course. They're looking for the next exciting thing. Because and I show this, how it loops around. It has to do with the comfort zones.
Moving down to San Antonio, obviously you got to trump the hustle, right? You're hitting that reset button. Other time in life where you're like, man, something really went down, and I really had to turn up the hustle.
Ooh. Wow, I wasn't ready for that. I got to think because I'm trying to think here.
A lot of mishaps in your life.
Getting sober.
Getting sober.
Yeah.
How long has that been?
It was 6 years, then I jacked that up. But back on it, man. That's one of the first things I got to San Antonio was look for AA groups. There's a lot of them around here.
Yeah.
One of them's right down the street from me, pero es en español solamente. Pero yo no hablo español mucho. So I'm thinking I may go.
Pretty good.
I'm like, man, I may go to Grupo Soledad just to listen to the drunk Spanish people, drunk Mexicans. But
when was this? If you don't mind me asking.
What was that?
The reset.
My last. It was this year. It was right before I came to when I got to San Antonio.
Had to do with the move?
Yeah. The whole thing, it was life. It was a stupid thing for me to do. But as an alcoholic, that's what your brain knows is pain, escape, pain, escape, So, but it is what it is. It's something I went through, and I'm not glad I went through it, but it woke my ass up and said, "What the hell are you doing? Let's go. Let's get back into A. Here we go." And because with this stupid blood clot that the voodoo Brazilian witch girl gave me, I can't go to the gym. I used to go to the gym sometimes twice a day. Dude, I look good in December. I'm telling you, if you had a vagina, you would have had sex with me. Was that loud? Did I say that out loud?
This is my podcast, but this is your show, sir. So whatever you like.
Dude, do not edit anything, Jack.
He got it. What's a lesson or mistake you learned the hard way that you can really show others? Don't do what I did.
Yeah, so one of the things that comes to mind is business partners.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. What you got?
And I don't bring this up because of you and Charles, because I didn't watch the episode. I really don't know what went down. But a lot of times I say this because I get people that come on as a student. And they go, "Hey, can my friend come on as my business partner?"
Right.
Like, well, are y'all already business partners?
Right.
Well, no, we want to. Okay, well, this is screwed up then. Someone starting off, or in the early stages. This happened to me. My business, had my business for 4 months maybe, and a very, very good friend of mine. He's a great guy. Saw what I was doing, ended up coming on as a business partner. Well, I didn't know anything about business, so I didn't know how to structure anything. But having said that, even as a husband and wife that come to me as a team, father or daughter, 2 friends, whatever, as business partners, I ask them, well, how come y'all are business partners?
How come y'all are business partners?
Yeah, why? Why do you have a business partner? Because I think, especially for people just starting off, I describe a business partner, people wanting a business partner, as being sent to the principal's office. What I mean by this is this. So in middle school, I got sent to the principal's office a lot because I was doing comedy in the rooms. But back then, when you went to the principal's office, the principal got this big wooden paddle and he bruised your ass. They can't do that now. Of course, they also locked me in a book room in 12th and 11th grade there's a whole thing.
In a book room?
Yeah, literally locked me in a book room. I don't know why I have problems, Michael. But going to the principal's office by yourself down the quiet hallway, like, But if you got your buddy with, your sidekick with you, going to the principal's office, like, yeah, that's cool. You strut differently. You walk in, yeah, we're going to get licks. Yeah, okay, whatever. It's just a different vibe. And so I think a lot of times people approach business and business partnerships as going to the principal's office. I don't want to go alone. So I think that they think in their head having this business partner is going to give them some support, some safety net, bring some strength to the table. When really it causes confusion, and if you built a business to a certain level and you realize this isn't working, it's worse than having a divorce from a Brazilian.
That's tough. You have to move to a different city.
So what I recommend is if Skylar was going to start a business, a real estate business, he's putting some things in place, and you went to him and you said, "Hey, I think I want to be your business partner," I would recommend to Skylar, I would tell him, instead of having him as a business partner, say, well, let's think about what role you would fit. What would my expectations and role for you be? What would you do within this company? And once we define those, then I can bring you on as a contractor or an employee, and here's your roles. But you're not going to be a business partner. There's like in my case, because like when people come to me as a student and the husband and wife, 2 people.
Right.
Again, I say, whose role is going to be what? What are you going to do? Because I say, look, what I do is so easy. It's a one-man show. It's literally, I can run a one-man show here in San Antonio. I don't need a team of people because it's totally different than, there's not a lot of moving pieces. It's email, copy, paste, email, DocuSign, sign in the yard, phone calls. It's a one-man show. So who's going to be doing what? You've got to have those roles defined. So I think before someone goes into a business partnership, it's to see, is there a better way to structure this where I can bring them on as an employee or independent contractor, but they've got to know, here's your role. And if you're not cutting the mustard, then hey man, I love you to death. We'll go have tacos tomorrow, but I got to let you go.
Let me ask you something. You ever thought about investing in real estate but assumed you needed perfect credit? A huge savings account or a bank willing to say yes? That's exactly why we're excited to partner with our guy Mike Leva at Conventus. Conventus is a real estate lender built specifically for investors and not homeowners. They help people fund deals like fix and flips, buy and hold rentals, and even ground up construction. And here's the part most beginners don't realize. Conventus doesn't lend based on your W-2 income or your personal credit score. They focus on the deal itself, the value of the property, and the numbers behind it. That means investors can often access higher loan amounts and more flexible terms than a traditional bank, sometimes with rates that are more competitive than people expect. So instead of asking, do I qualify? The better question becomes, is this a good deal? If you're serious about getting into real estate investing and want a funding partner that truly understands investors, reach out to our go-to guy at Conventus, Mike Leva, today using the link in the show notes and see how real estate investors are actually getting deals funded.
It's funny you mentioned that because over my, I've done a bunch of different things: wireless industry, hospitality, nightclubs, car washes, laundromats, whatever. And in every single business, I mean, just tons of people out of the woodworks. I want to be your partner. I want to be your partner. I want to be your partner. Let's be partners. I have this business. I can partner with you. And I'm the same as my dad. I'm what they call an unconscious competent. We're very competent at what we do, but just don't really know how to explain it very well or why we do things we do or whatever. And so I was always just very opposed to having business partners. Thank goodness, right? And, you know, obviously as I got older and I really analyzed, you know, what the good things and bad things, but there's, you know, on top of, like you said, having disagreements, especially if you're 50-50. I mean, that's, like you said, worse than getting married because you may have very strong conviction about doing the business one way and they're completely opposite of you. And what do you do, right? It's just you two if it's 50-50. And then there's always death. Somebody's going to die. There's always divorce. There's always going to be different distress situations on either person's side, right? And so life changes for both people. So if you're in a business and it becomes a very big business where you're making a lot of money and you need a lot of time dedicated to it from both partner, right? But one of them gets divorced. One of them moves out of the state. One of them has a kid that dies, or a mother or whatever the situation, right? Somebody in that family is going to die eventually, or some kind of distress is going to come up, bankruptcy and their other, you know, personal life and business. And so just by avoiding having a business partner right off the bat, I feel like puts a lot of people ahead.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've had this conversation a couple of times. We've partnered on multiple different businesses, some that have failed and some that have done very well. And he's the only person I've ever had as a business partner ever. And I don't even know why we clicked. We met at a nightclub, my nightclub. And for some reason it clicked. Like I trusted him very well. And, you know, we both mutually decided to become business partners. And even on the businesses that didn't go well, you know, we have that understanding. But I feel like if you look at our business acumen, our commitment to the businesses we're in, you know, a lot of that stuff's aligned that, like you said, people don't even ask the questions. People just want to have a partner to go to the principal's office with, right? Yeah. And so, you know, for people who are looking to get into business with a business partner, I mean, it's got to be, this is, like you said, and I think it's more important than who's your wife, who's your spouse. Yeah. Because, you know, there's ways to break that up. When it's a business, you know, obviously there's ways to break that up as well, but it can become a huge headache. It can become extreme nightmare. It can also deter your business, right? Because again, this person, depending on what level they're at in business or in life, and you may be up here, but just because y'all are friends or agree on a couple of different things, it can really, really screw up. So I appreciate that take on it, because man,
and not have. And I'm not saying all partnerships are bad. I'm just saying you've got to think.
No, there's some great ones. Yeah,
you got to think through it. Okay, well, what are the benefits? Why would we do this?
Strategic partnerships are good, right? When it's just new. You and your friend, your neighbor, that y'all have known each other and y'all have talked about starting a lawn care business or whatever the business is, right? It needs to be way more strategic than just y'all share the same thoughts and ideas about a business.
Yeah.
Get messy when it's with family too.
What's that?
You can get messy when it's with family as well.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about this book, John. Lease Option, the easiest deals in real estate. Some would argue that wholesaling or sub-2 is the easiest deal, but tell me about this book and how to buy, sell, or control real estate with no money or credit.
Yeah, well, first let me tell you why, in my opinion, lease options are the easiest way to get started in real estate. No negotiating, no capital required. You're not under time constraints. You know, we got to close by this day. And fourth, there's literally no competition. Now, I've got a couple of students here in San Antonio, but I don't consider them my competition. But like in Fort Worth, I've been there, you know, all my life. I literally have zero competition. I don't have 100 other lease option people up there. It's me. Just because I'm the one that teaches what I do, which is crazy to think. But so I have no competition. And there's no negotiating, no competition. I'm not haggling. I'm not beating them down on pricing. Is that the best you can do? And I'm not cold calling. But with that book, dude, hold up for the audience. Come on. What are you?
So get some royalties from this thing here.
Move your monkey paws. Come on. Let him see the book.
You can get this book on Amazon?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon.
John Jackson, Lease Option, the easiest deal in
Jack,
real estate.
did he show it to the camera long enough? Are you
He
sure?
did. Yeah, he edited it. He get some royalties out of this.
Yeah. So that book, you can find it on Amazon. The Lease Option. You can actually go to the leaseoptionbook.com.
Leaseoptionbook.com.
You can go to theleaseoptionbook.com, or you can get it on Amazon. But that book, it's because Lease Option is so simple. It wasn't a 300-page manual. It was like, but it broke it down very boom, 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 all the way from what is it? How do they work? Texas lease options, 3 different types of lease options. But within that book are QR codes. And you get the book on Amazon, or go to the Lease Option book, put your phone up. So at the end of, not all sections, but I'll talk about a topic, say Texas lease options. You get to the last page, there's a QR code. Hold your camera up to it. Oh, there's a video.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So now you're seeing a video of me talking about what you just read.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there's ways to
It's different.
to connect with me in there, like if you want to book a call. But I've got QR codes there where you get through a topic, and some of them will have a QR code. Hold up your camera, your phone. Oh my God, there's John. He's got a video. So I'm going into a little more depth.
That's different. That's cool. That's different. Definitely than just sitting there reading a book.
Yeah.
Kind of get best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. My autobiography is going to be a scratch and sniff. You get that one, Jack?
Touche. That's the comedian in him. Man, that's really cool to see. We've known each other for years. I never really sat down and really talked to you in depth like this. So I'm glad you're able to come to the Trump the Hustle podcast. But this is the Trump the Hustle podcast, and Trump the Hustle for me, it's not a slogan; it's a way of life. Man, I've lived my life for Trump the Hustle and everything I do. What does Trump the Hustle mean to John Jackson?
It's Trump the Hustle. Stop procrastinating. Get off your ass. Stop making excuses. Stop making a huge to-do list of things you're not going to get done. Well, the top 3 things you've got to get done today that are top priority, and do what's uncomfortable. Get out of your comfort zone, because whatever it is you're putting off is probably what's most important.
Comfort zone again.
I definitely have enjoyed this conversation, and I enjoy the part about how back in 2001, 2, 3, when you said there was no internet around, there was no, none of that stuff, you were still finding a way. Because people have it, like you said, so easy today. They can go online and go to anybody's Instagram, click a link in their bio, and have an absurd amount of information fed to them that will actually get them deals. Most of the time, get them deals. Some of it's just fluff, right? But for the most part, you'll actually get deals done. And so for somebody like you to have started back in the pioneer days of the internet, or whatever you want to call it, right? To have found all that information, you obviously had to have gotten out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
You obviously had to spend a ton of time. And I think that's one of my big things with people nowadays, especially seeing students on our side, just knowing friends of mine that want to get into this, want to get into that, want to get into day trading or whatever it may be. People have such short attention spans and allow themselves such a short amount of time. It's like, man, I've tried this thing for like a week and I haven't made money. It's like,
oh my God,
a week is what? What are you talking about? You know? I mean, how many years does it take to really master a craft, or even just to get to know a little bit? I mean, it takes you, at least a couple 100 hours to be able to understand and digest something. And so I really appreciate this part of the conversation where you've really shown that, if you want to be good at something, you want to be excellent at something, it's not just click a link one time within 30 minutes, you are, the guru of it, if you will. So.
That's interesting. As you're saying, I was thinking about how when I started doing direct mail, there was nobody told me to do direct mail.
Yeah.
There was no book on how to do it. I damn sure didn't know how to do it. I didn't know if it was going to work. I thought, let's try it. Here we go. But I thought I'm gonna bust through this wall somehow.
Yeah.
And it was a very time consuming. God knows how many hours I spent just for that first mailing, and doing it all by hand. And at some point, my living room looked like a mail house. Had my daughters putting on stamps and stuff, but I don't know if it was going to work. But
yeah, and you for sure weren't thinking like, hey, 25 years from now, I'm going to be teaching people how to do this, right? You were just trying to figure out how to get something done, how to make it. So I think that's what a lot of people, especially if you're watching and you want to get into real estate investing specifically, whether it's wholesaling, lease options, subject to, fix and flip, this is a long play. You're trying to build a skill that you can use in your life for many years down the road, and so don't expect it to take, 3 weeks, a month,
Yeah.
6 months. You know, it may
Yeah.
take, you know, a year, 2 years, 5 years before you become very good at it. But it is a skill that once you know, regardless of the avenue of it, once you get good at, you know, one or multiple different strategies, you can make a ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
For anybody who wants to find you, maybe this is the first time they've seen you,
Yep.
they want to find you, what's the best way for them to connect with you, plug in with you?
Yeah, there's a few different ways. So, excuse me. Instagram is @JohnJacksonOfficial. Facebook. Hell, I don't know. I guess I'm leasing to buy. I guess, or John Jackson. Just look for the sexiest John Jackson on Facebook. What are you laughing at, Melissa? As far as connecting with me, you can go to my website. You can see our properties, leasingtobuy.com. Leasingtobuy.com. I'm John at leasingtobuy.com. If they want to email me, that's pretty simple. John at leasingtobuy.com. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I will say this. If you're listening to this, watching this, you got something right with, you want to book a call with me to learn about, talk to me about what you're doing, how I can help you, whatever. You can actually book a Zoom call with me at dreampartnercall.com. Dreampartnercall.com. That's, you know, we call our students our dream partners. So, and they can book a call with me on that same link, dreampartnercall.com. Boom, take it to our Calendly, book a Zoom call. All I ask is that if you're hideous, keep your camera off.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So if Logan Fulmer books a call, keep the camera off, Logan. I don't want to see that ugly ass.
That's hilarious. Well, all right, guys. Well, we really appreciate you tuning in to another fantastic episode of the Turn Up the Hustle podcast. We hope you really enjoyed this one, especially. This was a great episode. And if you do like these episodes and you want more, make sure to click that follow button. And as always, turn up the hustle, and we will see you guys on the next one.